Okay, student. My name is Mr. Laurent Ndonje, a biology teacher. I will continue presenting to you a topic of ecology. Our topic is ecology. In the last lesson, my student, we discussed about the concept of an ecosystem. We said an ecosystem consists of biotic and abiotic factors which interact to ensure nutrient circulation and energy flow. In the ecosystem, abiotic factors are like soil, like temperature, sunlight, water, etc. Biotic factors are like plants, animals, fungi, bacteria. Take an example, my student. Can a plant survive without a biotic factor? Really no. A plant cannot survive without the presence of water. Water is required by plant for photosynthesis. A plant cannot survive without the presence of carbon dioxide, which is also required for photosynthesis. A plant is anchored by the soil, where a plant can uptake nutrients and also can absorb water. Therefore, in the ecosystem, the interaction between the biotic and the abiotic component is inevitable. We human beings, we feed on plants. Plants obtains nutrients from the soil, which is abiotic. Human beings, we depend on air, such as oxygen, for aerobic respiration. Air is abiotic, but we are biotic. Therefore, the interaction between biotic and abiotic in an ecosystem is inevitable. Hope you are following, my student. Now, today, I'll continue discussing to you the concept of ecology. But specifically, what I will stick today is interaction between biotic and the abiotic. And then we will check the concept of nutrient circulation and energy flow. Hope we will be together, my student. Now, let us start with interaction between biotic and abiotic components of an ecosystem. My student, in the last lesson, I presented to you the interaction among biotic components of an ecosystem. I said biotic components of an ecosystem include the following. One is symbiosis. Here, my student, I said the interaction between organisms which are closely living together. I said, for example, mutualism. Here, organisms of different species live together while interacting, and both organisms benefit from the interaction. For example, I said lichen, the association between fungi and algae. An algae makes food which can be absorbed by the fungi, but a fungi provides protection to the algae. Hope you are following, my student. I said about commensalism. Here, one organism benefits, the other organism neither benefit nor harmed. For example, barnacle living together with whales. A barnacle will be gaining a transport by living with whales, but whales cannot benefit and also cannot be harmed by living together with barnacle. And also I said about parasitism, if you remember, my student. In parasitism, an organism called a parasite benefit, while the organism called host is harmed. For example, a cow and a tick. A tick will benefit by sucking the blood of cow, but a cow will be harmed. Hope you are following. Then we said about predation. My student, in predation I said we have a hunting animal called a predator and the animal which is hunted called prey. Therefore here the interaction between a predator and the prey is called predation. That is interaction between biotic components of an ecosystem. A predator is biotic, is a living. A prey is also biotic because it's a living. Then we talked about competition. Competition here is a struggle between members of the population. You find, for example, goats are struggling for the same shrub. Only goats. That means these are members of the same species. This kind of competition is called intraspecific competition. Intraspecific competition. If the competition involves only members of the same species. But if the competition involves members of different species, my dear student, is called interspecific competition. Interspecific competition. Take an example, goats and zebra are struggling for the same shrub. Zebra is of different species from goats. That is the way they interact. My dear student, and also I said something about grazing, if you remember. For example, a cow depends on grasses. The grasses are living. Grasses are living, and a cow is a living organism in the ecosystem. Now from there, we can have a discussion of the interaction between biotic and abiotic component of the ecosystem. Mind you, my student, we said about abiotic. A in biology means negation. Therefore, abiotic here is non-living. Non-living components of an ecosystem. Therefore, all non-living organisms are included here. Take an example, soil, water, air, temperature, sunlight, minerals, and the biotic component of an ecosystem include producers such as plants, bacteria, fungi, and animals. Now, how abiotic and the biotic components of an ecosystem interact? My student, can you try to think? Can a plant manufacture its own food without the presence of carbon dioxide? Without the presence of water? Without the presence of sunlight? Really no. Photosynthesis requires light. Photosynthesis requires water. But we have a biotic component called plant. My student, plant is anchored where? The soil. Therefore, there is a soil. Soil, my student, contains nutrients. My students, nutrients are absorbed by plants. Soil contains water. Water is also absorbed by plants. Plants are eaten by animals. Animals may die. Plants also may die. Therefore, decomposers will play upon. Do you see the interaction now? Therefore, a plant will require abiotic factors to make its own food. An organism will consume plant which required food from abiotic factors. Hope you are following, my student. Now we can see the first question here. Question 1. Explain how biotic and abiotic components of the ecosystem interact. When you want to respond properly, start by defining the term ecosystem. Then, identify the biotic components of an ecosystem and identify the abiotic components of an ecosystem. Now, show the interaction between biotic components identified and the abiotic components identified. That is the way of responding to this problem. Hope you are following, my student. After interaction of biotic and abiotic components, let us now see the concept of energy flow and nutrient circulation. Let us concentrate on this. Energy flow and nutrient circulation. Okay, student. Now, energy flow and nutrient circulation. In an ecosystem, energy flows from one trophic level to another, while the nutrient circulates from one trophic level to another. Why do we say energy flows from one trophic level to another? And why do we say nutrient circulates from one trophic level to another? What is the meaning of flowing? Flowing, it is the act of moving from one place to another without returning. Therefore, the energy moves from one trophic level to another trophic level without going back to where it comes from. While circulation moves from one trophic level to another trophic level, then at the end goes back to where it originated. My students, energy flow. The source of energy in the ecosystem is the sun. Therefore, the sun is the source of energy. In the ecosystem, a plant traps sunlight. Therefore, organisms in the ecosystem may use radiant energy or a fixed energy. In the ecosystem, use radiant energy or fixed energy. A radiant energy is obtained from the sun. Therefore, a plant will trap sunlight. Plants will trap sunlight. Then, a plant will convert this sunlight to chemical energy. Therefore, this one will be converted to chemical energy. Where now, this energy will be transferred to another trophic level. That is now a fixed energy. A fixed energy is a chemical potential energy. Therefore, my student, the energy from the sun is taken by plants. Plants trap them. Where this energy is converted into chemical energy during the process called photosynthesis. Therefore, there is a physiological process called photosynthesis. Now, a plant is eaten by animals. Animals may die. A plant also may die, where they'll be used by decomposers. Therefore, the energy we can now summarize here. Let's say this is a sun here, my student. This is a sun. This is a sun. The light energy from the sun is taken by plants. These are plants here, my students. Where now the process of photosynthesis takes place. Now, then these plants will be eaten by animals. Animals. Then animals may die. The energy which is present in animal will be available now to decomposers. My students, plants also may die. Therefore, the energy will be transferred to decomposers. Now, so that we can use the good terms of ecology. Let's say we have sun here. In the ecosystem, there are many producers. These are primary producers. From the producers, these are consumers. My student, from consumers, the decomposers will be here. Energy will be taken, and also here energy may be taken. Hope you are following, my students. Now, my students, here, when the energy comes from the sun, is taken to plants, let's say producers here. Our energy in the producers transferred to animals? Can you think? Consumers? My student, our energy present in the consumers transferred to decomposers? Think of decomposers. My students, our energy present in producers transferred to decomposers? Think of. Really not. Some of the energy is lost here, maybe in the form of heat. Here may be in the form of heat. Here may be in the form of heat. Why not your amount of energy present in the producers transferred to consumers? Why not your amount of energy present in the consumers transferred to decomposers? Really? We can have reason. My student, let's say reasons to why energy decreases from one trophic level to another trophic level. My student, energy decreases from one trophic level to another trophic level. For example, from the trophic level of producers to trophic level of consumers. Producers has to carry out different physiological processes. Producers has some parts which cannot be consumed by the consumers. Therefore, one of the reasons energy is lost in different physical and metabolic processes. Energy is lost in different physical and metabolic processes. My students, take an example. The process of growing requires energy. Example of the process which loses energy, grass. Take an example, the process of excretion. My student, take an example, the process of respiration. My student, energy decreases from one trophic level to another trophic level. For example, you have a cow at home. Do you consume all parts of the cow? Really not. You cannot consume horns of the cow. Sometimes you cannot consume bones of cow. Hope you are following. Therefore, some parts are not edible. Some parts are not edible. This is now number 2. Which part cannot be consumed? Try to think of. Use it 2 seconds, my student. Now, take an example, the parts like horns. Really, you cannot consume horns. Teeth, they cannot be consumed. Hooves, they cannot be consumed. Take an example, even a fruit which you always buy, an orange fruit. Do you consume all parts of orange fruit? Really, you cannot. A mango, you cannot consume the whole parts of a mango fruit. Banana. Therefore, some of the energy is locked in parts which cannot be consumed. Therefore, here in this part, the energy is locked. Cannot be transferred from one trophic level to another trophic level. That is the second reason, my students. My students, think of digestion. Think of assimilation. Is digestion 100% efficient? Is assimilation 100% efficient? Really no. Some materials may remain undigested. The undigested material contains also energy. Hope you are following, my student. Therefore, the physiological processes such as digestion and assimilation are not 100% efficient. Hope you are following, my student. Therefore, here now the point number 3, the physiological processes. Such as digestion and assimilation. These processes are not 100% efficient. Some of the energy remain locked in undigested food material. There is undigested food materials. Are you following, my student? That is. Therefore, here, my students, you can be asked why the energy keeps on decreasing from one trophic level to another trophic level. The answer are summary of the points which I've outlined them here. Hope you are following. But also, you can be asked, in an ecosystem, there are few trophic levels. That trophic level, they cannot be many. The reasons are the same. Because the energy always decreases from one trophic level to another trophic level. My students, after discussing the concept of energy flow, we can now conclude by saying when energy flows from one trophic level to another trophic level cannot be taken back. If we flow from the sun to the producers, the energy available in the producers cannot be taken back to the sun. If from the producers to consumers, the energy available in consumers cannot be taken back to producers. From producers to decomposers, from consumers to decomposers, the energy available in decomposers cannot be taken back to consumers. From producers to decomposers, then again here, the energy available in decomposers cannot be taken back to producers. But really here energy is given out. Really here energy in form of heat is given out. That's why we say energy keeps on decreasing from one trophic level to another trophic level. Hope we are together, my students. Now students, after discussing the concept of energy flow, let us now see the concept of nutrient circulation. How nutrient circulates from one trophic level to another trophic level. Nutrient circulation. Okay. Nutrient circulates from abiotic to biotic, and also from biotic to abiotic. Nutrients from the soil circulates to plants, plants to consumers, consumers to decomposers, but decomposers set the nutrient free to be taken by plants. I remember in the last lesson we discussed about the role of decomposers in an ecosystem. Therefore, the nutrient can be taken back is different from energy, which cannot go back. Are we together, my students? Now, in nutrient circulation, the nutrient now will circulate between living organisms and non-living organisms, where the nutrients circulates. What are the nutrients, my student? Can you survive without nutrients? Really no. These are chemical substances required by our bodies, by plants, and by other organisms for growth, reproduction, and maintenance. Nutrients are chemicals. Nutrients may be carbohydrate, you know, from the topic of biochemistry, protein, different vitamins, and so on. Therefore, in the ecosystem, take an example, these are producers here. Nutrients which are available in producers can be taken by consumers. Consumers may take this nutrient to decomposers when they die. But also, my student, plants may die, then get used by decomposers. Now the decomposers set the nutrients free. They break the consumer, they break the producers. Then they set the nutrients free. Where? Nitrogen, phosphorus, carbon are made available. They are made available in the soil. Therefore, here you find inorganic nutrients are available. Inorganic nutrients are available. This nutrients goes back to producers. Now, in order to discuss the detail of nutrient circulation, we will concentrate on some of the cycles. And here, we will concentrate on the carbon cycle, nitrogen cycle, hydrological cycle, these are some of the cycles which I'm going to concentrate presenting to you. My student, let me start with carbon cycle. Carbon cycle. Carbon is present in our bodies. For example, carbohydrate which you always eat, my student, contains carbon. Protein contains carbon. Lipids contains carbon. Therefore, how would this carbon circulate in the ecosystem is what we want to concentrate on, my student. Now, carbon is available in different forms. Let's take an example. Is available in the form of carbon dioxide, oxide of carbon. Hope you know from the concept of chemistry. Now, my students, a plant requires carbon dioxide for photosynthesis. An animal like you, my student, and I also, respires out carbon dioxide. My students, when animals and plants die, they are decomposed. They may result into fossil fuel also. When fossil fuel are burnt, they give out carbon dioxide to the atmosphere. Therefore, if we have carbon dioxide here, my students, this is carbon dioxide. This one here, let's say we have plants here. Plants will require this carbon dioxide during photosynthesis. Therefore, here, my student, there is a process called photosynthesis, where a plant requires carbon dioxide. During cellular respiration, a plant gives out carbon dioxide. Therefore, here there is a process called respiration. My students, plants are eaten by animals. Like we human beings, we eat plants. But during the process of respiration, animals gives out carbon dioxide. We respire out carbon dioxide. Therefore, here the process is respiration. My students, animals and plants also may die. The decomposers will consume them. Animals and the plants. Decomposers. Decomposers also respires to give carbon dioxide. But also when they die, they may result into formation of fossil fuel. fossil fuel. Take an example, coal, petroleum. Once these are combusted, they give out carbon dioxide. Therefore, here there is a process called combustion. Hope you are following, my student. Therefore, this is carbon dioxide, which is required by plant. Plants also add carbon dioxide to the atmosphere. Therefore, this carbon dioxide here is present to the atmosphere. The atmosphere contains carbon dioxide. I remember from the concept of chemistry form 1, you are taught the percentage of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere at 0.03%. My students, that is the summary of carbon cycle. Now, student, you can see the picture here. These are plants. This is carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. Carbon dioxide is required by plant for photosynthesis. You see the plant, they can do a cellular respiration where carbon dioxide is added to the atmosphere. These are consumers. Consumers feed on plants and also may feed other consumers in the ecosystem. But they give out carbon dioxide during cellular respiration. Now, when the plants and the consumers die, they are utilized by decomposers. Decomposers respire out carbon dioxide also. But also, when they die, they result into fossil fuel. For example, plant may result into wood, which when are combusted, they give out carbon dioxide. Hope you are following, my students. Now, from carbon cycle, let us see nitrogen cycle. Nitrogen cycle. You know, from the chemistry of form 1 you are taught, nitrogen is present in the atmosphere by 70–80%. Therefore, nitrogen gas is present by 70–80%. You know, from form 1. Now, a nitrogen gas which is present in the atmosphere cannot be used by plants. My students, therefore, this nitrogen must be fixed into the form which can be used by plant. Therefore, the first thing in a nitrogen cycle is fixation. Fixation. Nitrogen fixation, which is done biologically or physically. Therefore, biological and physical processes are involved in fixation of nitrogen. Take an example. Plants like soya beans contains bacteria which can fix nitrogen. Bacteria like Rhizobium can fix nitrogen from the soil to the plant. Lightning. This is now a physical process. Also fixes nitrogen to nitrate. My students, after fixation, this nitrogen is converted to ammonia, where the process now is called ammonification. When ammonia is formed, this ammonia is converted to nitrate. Then nitrate. The process is called nitrification. Therefore, in nitrification, ammonia is converted to nitrate or nitrate by nitrifying bacteria. Take an example, Nitrobacter. Therefore here, Nitrobacter bacteria, Nitrosomonas bacteria. Then this nitrate is converted back to nitrogen gas by the process called denitrification. Therefore, my students, the nitrogen cycle involves this process: fixation, ammonification, nitrification, denitrification. Hope you have your paper, you have your pen. Can you define now what is nitrogen fixation? What is ammonification? What is nitrification? And what is denitrification? Okay, now we have 70–80% of nitrogen in the atmosphere, where the process of fixation is done, and this one is converted to ammonia. Here, the process is a fixation, which is done by bacteria. This one is present where? To the atmosphere. Ammonia now is present to the soil. Now, ammonia is converted to nitrate by bacteria, let's say called Nitrosomonas bacteria. Then, nitrate may be oxidized to nitrate by Nitrobacter bacteria. Nitrobacter bacteria. My student, this nitrate is used by plants. Let's say here plants, which requires nitrogen, uses this nitrate. This nitrate, my student, is also converted back to nitrogen gas by the process called denitrification. But also, nitrate may be converted back by the same process called denitrification. And here, denitrifying bacteria plays the part. My student, nitrogen can be also fixed by lightning, which is a physiological process, to nitrate. Can be fixed by lightning, which is a physiological process, to nitrate. Therefore, this one to here by lightning, which is a physiological process. A plant contains bacteria which may fix this nitrogen to ammonia, then to nitrate. Nitrate then is used again. My students, now that is the end of nitrogen cycle. Let us now see hydrological cycle to finish up our discussion. My student, hydrological cycle. Hydrological cycle means water cycle. Water circulates also in the ecosystem. Take an example. In the ecosystem, we have water bodies where sunlight causes evaporation of water from water bodies. Then the vapor is taken to the atmosphere. My student, in the topic of transport of Form 2 and transport in Form 6, I'm sure you know something called transpiration. Plants undergoes transpiration, where water in the form of vapor is given out. The vapor from plants is taken to the atmosphere This vapor condenses. Once it condenses, clouds are formed. This cloud results into precipitation. Now, after precipitation, water percolates into the soil. Therefore here, hydrological cycle. Or simply you can say water cycle. One of the processes here, my student, is called evaporation. Where, for example, let us write here, my student. You have water bodies like ocean. When sunlight is there, let's say sunlight here, evaporation takes place. Evaporation results into what? Vapor. Are you following, my student? Then, my students, take an example. We have soil here with the plants, where the process of transpiration takes place. This also results into vapor. My students, this vapor condenses. Therefore, there is a process called condensation, where now clouds are formed, results into cloud formation. My students, after formation of cloud, what will follow is the precipitation. And the water from precipitation will percolate to the ocean, percolates to the soil. Then the movement, the cycle continues. Hope you are following, my student. Now we can see here, we have ocean as a water bodies. We have plants. In ocean, evaporation takes place, where vapor is taken to the atmosphere. In plants, transpiration takes place, where also vapor is taken to the atmosphere, which results into cloud, then precipitation. The water from rain will percolate into the groundwater, in the soil, into the ocean. Then the cycle continues. I'm sure we are together, my student. That is the end of my discussion today. But before I finish, let me leave you with one question. My student, you can discuss this question at home. My student, at home, you can discuss this question here. In any ecosystem, there is a flow of energy and nutrient circulation. Explain how energy flows in the ecosystem. Hope you can discuss at home. That is now the end of my lesson today. Next lesson we'll continue discussing our topic of ecology. I hope this is the last topic according to our syllabus, and this topic is not taught by most of your schools because it is the last topic. Therefore, continue following my lesson. Hope you will understand it better and also you will benefit much. And it is my hope you will not fail any question of ecology if you continue following these lessons. Thank you. See you, my students.